Hi, my friends. Welcome back to the Maverick Mompreneur podcast. This episode is one that's honestly been on my heart for a long time, and I've danced around the topic, but I think that this might speak to more of my listeners than I even realize, because every time I even hint around this topic, I get a lot of response. We're going to talk about what it means to build your business from a place of emotional survival, and I'm going to call it, for our purposes today, survival mode masculinity, and why I can't work like that anymore. Although I built the foundation of my business during a time when, if I'm perfectly honest, I was just trying to get through the day. I needed a way out of a situation that was no longer safe for me emotionally or mentally. What I didn't know then, that what I was doing, building a 10K plus per month business, wasn't from inspiration. It wasn't from flow. It was from a nervous system that was stuck in fight or flight. And even though that was the mode that helped me survive, that helped me to build that business, it's not how I choose to live or build anymore. And sometimes I find myself wishing for some of that survival mode masculine energy, but then again, I don't, because now I understand where that came from and how unhealthy that actually was. But I'm thankful for that person that I was in that time period, because everything that's happened has gotten me to where I am today. So if you're here for a little bit of personal life storytelling, as well as something that you may be able to relate to, and I'm probably speaking to you already if this is going to relate to you, sit back, hang out with me for a while, and let's get into some of the real deal online business building things that aren't talked about openly. I'm Ashley, and this is the Maverick Mompreneur podcast, where you're free and encouraged to own your desire to create and scale an impactful, discoverable online brand and business, a business that's aligned with your mission, lifestyle desires, personality, and zone of genius, without wasting your time on the hustle and grind hamster wheel that is social media. Can I get an amen? Sis, you are a maverick, an original, willing to stand out in your authenticity, defy expectations, and do life and business outside the box. In our world, if it's not aligned with who we are, it's a hard pass or a brave pivot. So if you're here for the powerful identity shift and transformation from boss babe or boss mom to aligned CEO, building a one-of-a-kind, influential, hustle-free online business that will produce long-term impact and multiple streams of income while building yourself in the process, well, pop in those AirPods, grab that cup of coffee or glass of wine, and let's get growing. Back then, back in 2018, 2019, I now recognize that I was in a constant state of urgency. I had very little time. The time I had to ask permission for. My energy was totally drained based on what was happening, but I still managed to work when I could, whenever I had a second to breathe, whenever I was allowed to, because I had to. I knew that I had to, and not from a place of ambition necessarily, but from a place of necessity, knowing that I needed to, at some point, be able to take care of myself financially. And that's what I'm calling survival mode masculinity, survival mode masculine energy, which looks like overachieving to create a sense of control, needing results now to feel safe, feeling guilty when you stop, and equating productivity with protection and feeling safe. Money even being something that felt like it would mean safety. It's hustle, but it's not the healthy kind of hustle. It's drive that, although it can be productive and it can lead to making money, it comes from fear rather than alignment. But before we go any deeper than that, I want to take a second and define what I mean by survival mode masculine energy, because this isn't about gender at all. So survival mode masculine energy is when your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight and you cope by trying to control outcomes through overdoing. So problem solving, doing, taking control. This again isn't about gender, it's about energy. And men have masculine and feminine energy, women have masculine and feminine energy, and everyone has a different balance. In this case, it's the wounded form of what we would typically call masculine energy. So again, this is like obsessing over productivity to feel safe, constantly doing to avoid feeling. I definitely was guilty of that numbing out with doing versus facing and taking action on what I actually was feeling. Hustling without resting, needing a plan for everything, executing constantly, making decisions from fear, not necessarily vision. So that is like a wounded form of masculine energy. And this happens when we have an inner sense of danger, whether that be emotional, financial, relational, even physical, and it drives us to perform in order to survive. And while it might make you effective short term, like it did for me, it's exhausting and it's not sustainable long term. I have to remind myself of that when I get into those moments where I think, am I being lazy? Like, what happened to the hustle girl boss days? Where is that girl? Where is she at? I need her right now. But then I realized that that was definitely coming from an unhealthy place and was never going to be sustainable long term, and certainly not balanced, and certainly not the energy that I was created to be in. Not a wounded, constant masculine energy. And when people say I've changed over the last 5 years, absolutely. And this is a huge part of that. And I'm so thankful for the balance that I have now and the place from which I work and serve my clients and people in my life, not just in my business. So let's talk about, again, not about gender, but just healthy masculine energy and healthy feminine energy, because I've been looking into this over the years and I recognize how this can go awry when it comes to building an online business out of alignment. So healthy masculine energy, and I want you to think of a masculine man you know who is emotionally healthy. Their energy is directional, it's structured, it's protective, it's decisive, it's grounded in doing and making things happen. Feminine energy, again, this is not just about gender. I know I gave a male example before, but think of either a male or a female who is these things. This is feminine energy in healthy form. So creative, receptive, intuitive, nurturing, and grounded in being. And so back in 2018, 2019, when I was grinding in my business and building, these are certainly not the ways that I would describe the energy I was working from. It was certainly masculine energy, but a wounded, unhealthy masculine energy. The best, healthiest place to build your business is from both, in my opinion. If you use masculine energy to hold your structure, your plan, your systems, and feminine energy to connect with your vision, to rest, to receive, and create, all from alignment, that's ideal. Survival mode traps you in this unbalanced masculine state where we don't feel safe slowing down, trusting, or receiving. And that's why healing and regulating and realigning isn't weakness, it's actually wisdom. And you have to remind yourself, if you are like me and you built your business in girl boss, misaligned, masculine energy mode, and now you're finding yourself, whether that means you're making less money or more money, but you find yourself in a more aligned place, that doesn't mean that you're weak. That's actually you operating in something that you can do long term. So if you're in that kind of mode now, always doing and not feeling safe to slow down, just know that you're not alone. That is exactly where I was. And I want to talk about why that happens in the first place. So when you're in a situation that feels unsafe, whether emotionally or otherwise, our brains kick into do whatever it takes mode, for lack of a better term. For me, that meant building something as fast as possible that could offer me freedom and options. And if you know me, you know my mission is to help more women to make more money online so that they have more freedom and more options, whatever that means for them. Hyper productivity and never not working when I possibly could became my way of coping with my reality. So every blog post, every sale, every live, every offer, every launch, it wasn't just a task, it was part of an exit plan. And I now know that looking back, I wasn't building out of this inspired, flowy place. I was building from survival. But that came at a cost. It worked, but I wasn't ever really present in the success. I wasn't taking moments to celebrate the small wins. I wasn't taking moments to celebrate the big wins. I built a business that was making great money, but I honestly felt numb and it wasn't helping me to get out of that stuck fight or flight space. I was always bracing for impact, always staying one step ahead, always looking over my shoulder, performing. And that's what survival mode energy does. It will give you wins, but it will steal your joy. It will steal the fun out of the journey. Okay, so what changed? After that season of life, I made some huge changes, transitioned into a completely new life, one with more stability, more support, more breathing room, no chaos. But suddenly, I couldn't seem to tap into that same hustle gear anymore. It was like it was gone. And at first I panicked and I thought, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Where's my drive? My business is going to go down the toilet because I can't seem to get into this never-ending hustle mode. But the truth was that nothing was wrong. I was just finally safe and my nervous system was responding to that safety. In safety, we don't need to grind. We get to create. We get to rest. We get to lead with trust and vision and all of those fun, juicy, amazing parts of online business and what is truly rewarding about entrepreneurship. There's always going to be a lot of work involved, but it comes from a different place and it feels completely different. Nowadays, I don't try and force focus. I build rhythms into my weeks and my days. I'm not chasing down some sense of urgency. I really follow my energy. I follow my alignment. I follow my business plans and I let things unfold as they may. I cannot control every little thing. I never could. And that's an important point too, is even though I was building from this crazy place of never resting, I was never really in control. It was never my plan unfolding. And that's a really beautiful thing to realize. This shift that I'm talking about did not happen overnight. It really came from a lot of nervous system regulation. So grounding, breath work, daily walks. I would walk for hours and hours just cycling out cortisol, therapy, life coaching, prayer, journaling, letting go of pressure to be productive and just to feel worthy and safe exactly as I am. And that doesn't happen overnight or even in 6 months or a year. It's a long process, but well worth it. And now when I look at my calendar, I see that it reflects my values and what I value most and not my trauma. And there's nothing to me that will ever be allowed in my life that could cause that kind of trauma again. And it feels so safe knowing that I can trust the person that I am now to make the healthy, right decisions about what I have and who I have and don't have in my life. And when I look at my calendar, I see lots of time with Taylor, lots of play dates for her. I see my membership on the calendar penned in through the rest of the year for a year out. So I have priority on those membership meetings. I see 1 to 2 one-on-one clients per week. And I see a lot of time for me to create, relax, and focus on being so that I can create content like this that can be valuable for others. And so that is such a great place for me to work from now. And so if this is sounding at all familiar, if you're building something that's super awesome and incredible and you're excited about it, but at the same time it feels heavy or it feels stressful, I want to say this: it's not that you're broken. It's not that you are built differently to be in this girl boss hustle mode all the time. It may be that you're in a survival mode masculinity or masculine energy, and that might be serving you now, but it does not have to be the foundation forever, and you can make the transition when you're in a place of safety. And I encourage you to find that place of safety no matter what changes, big or small, you need to make in your life or business, because it's so worth it. Ask yourself right now, take a deep breath and just ask, what would my business look like if I built it from peace and not pressure? Because that's invaluable. There's no dollar amount or 10K, 20K, whatever K or not K per month that's worth you being a stressed out, overly caffeinated, hyper functioning version of yourself. And if you're someone who's shifting out of survival and into alignment and you're in that season, I just want you to hear that you are not losing your edge. You're still a total boss, but what you're doing is reclaiming your power, your personal power, and the power that comes from you being your authentic self, not living in that fight or flight mode. So that's really all I have for you today. I hope that this was helpful in some way, shape, or form. And if this hit home, definitely share it, tag me, send me a DM, email me. I would really love to hear from you. And I would love to know if you're liking episodes like this, or if you just want straight up business strategy. So you let me know. This is your podcast as much as it is mine. And until next episode, cheers to your impact. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a ton of value. And if you did, I would really appreciate if you would rate, subscribe, and review this podcast. It really helps push out the message that I have to share with other female entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.